How are we looking over on YT? And here we go. We're dorks.
Weird, dorks. You're the one playing an invisible fucking jazz instrument. Don't you take me down with you, right? I won't stand for it.
I will cop to that. It was air saxophone, and I'd do it again.
Well, before you do it again, allow me to introduce ourselves to our audience. Ladies, gentlemen, MBs, welcome to our 200 plus unspecified number subs celebration stream, where we're going to talk shop about the stuff we actually like for once, rather than, going on for ages about absolute shite. This is, of course, Warui Deshou. I am Shaden, and somewhere, many thousands of miles away in Tennessee is my very good friend, the Soul Doxer.
Hello, hello. I am super happy to be here, and to all the people that are subbing on YouTube, the first thing I have to do is thank you. And the second thing I have to do is, what the hell are you doing? Why are you watching this? You could be watching something good. But no, seriously, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And this is, I've wanted to do something like this where we talk about our absolute favorites for a while, and this seemed like a nice occasion.
Nice. So, first off, then, we're going to talk a little bit about how we decide on our list. So, because, when everyone says, this is my top 10, then everyone has their own criteria of what makes, a number 1 or what makes a number 10. I have plenty of criteria about what makes a number 2, but that's something entirely different, so let's talk about another time. Sorry. I had to do that. I mean, are you going to start reaching for the hidden whiskey right now? That is an amazing stress ball. That is an amazing stress ball, and I may very well steal it. It's a stress ball though, Doc. It's not a a sippy cup or a squeezy pout.
She smells fantastic though. I mean,
I'm sure that fantastic smell is probably something that would give kids cancer, so just be careful.
It smells very sweet, very candy-ish.
It's probably carcinogenic. So, okay, moving away from stuff that's banned, in a lot of countries in the world. Methodology. So, Doc, would you like to tell us first about how you came about to your top 10?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I had a real hard time deciding on what I wanted to put on this list. I ended up just kind of scrolling through Mal. I kept to my anime list for many years. I haven't kept up with it as much lately, but most of the recent stuff I've seen I remember. So I feel like I have a pretty decent, there's like a 5-10% chance some things slip through the cracks, but I feel like I have a good grasp on most of the things I've seen and how I felt about them. And I ended up putting down about 22, 23 titles on a quote-unquote short list of anime. And then winnowing that down was really... I tend to think about these things for me like less in terms of the technical merits of a show, less in terms of, I don't know, something you might call like objective standards. But what sticks with me, after years is like my emotional response to the show. How did it make me feel? If I've bothered to rewatch it, there are some things on my list that were not as high as they have been if I had done this list 5 years ago, 10 years ago, last year even, because I've watched and rewatched things, and that kind of repeat viewing and that the nearness of the emotional punch, recency bias be damned or whatever, that counts for me. And so, yeah, I think the way that I weighted these, like the kind of most important criteria was how they made me feel and how strongly they made me feel that, I think.
Okay, that's entirely fair. For me, my criteria were I hosted an incredibly obnoxious phone-in show which charged £1 per minute, for people to pick their choice. It's like, Britain's Got Talent, that kind of absolute, reality TV garbage. No, I'm kidding, I didn't do that. So, for me, like, I used to catalog on Mal as well. That's not something I do really anymore because Mal, unfortunately, his reputation has kind of declined a little bit for various reasons. Thank you very much, Nazis, ruining everything as always. Great. Bunch of fucking wankers, a lot of you.
They also had some weird technical bullshit over the last few months, like, where everyone kind of got, like, had to not re-register, but, like, had to change their password, and they blocked all APIs, so none of the sort of mobile, like, kind of third-party, like, independently developed apps worked with it anymore. There's still, it's been months, and I still can't access certain features on Mal that I used to be able to. So yeah, I get you. Not as fun to play with these days. No,
for sure. And on top of that, I think I just kind of wore myself out trying to catalog everything I'd watched. I mean, it feels kind of redundant to catalog, stuff that I'd give my opinion on when I'm giving my opinion on it on a podcast. It's like, repeating myself a little bit here. But prior to actually doing Warui Deshou, I did catalog some stuff. So I used Mal's scale of, out of 10 to, catalog stuff like, here's what I feel about this, here's what I feel about this. And I've kind of kept that going in my head a little bit, even if I don't necessarily go for that on Mal anymore. So without spoiling the specifics, I can confirm my top 4 are 10 out of 10s and the rest are 9s. But the actual 10 out, like, top 4 were dead easy for me to rank. Like, that was actually alarmingly, scarily easy for me to do. So I thought, oh, well, that's easy. That took me 2 seconds. I thought that. And then after that, it was tough. It was tough. And my opinions could very well change on this as I give things a rewatch and such, because there were certainly a lot of contenders on here that should really have gone onto the list, but just kind of got pips to the post ever so slightly. A couple of other minor things. No Ghibli films in here, because then we'd just be, phoning this in, because there's a lot of good Ghibli stuff that should go on this list if I was including them, but that's not the case. So no, and also no films in general. I just kept it pretty much to series entirely.
I had films in contention, but I ended up picking all series or OVAs. Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. As for why they actually got up there, a couple of things. First off, how many times I've watched them, because some shows I've rewatched over and over again because they're just that compulsively entertaining. Also, just how good they are in terms of spectacle, and also thematic elements, character arcs, good writing in general. Animation really hasn't kind of held a lot of weight with me, with one or two exceptions here and there. But for the most part, it's a combination thereof of just good scripting, and how entertaining it was overall, and how much it stuck with me after the fact. So there are some shows in my top 10 that are heavy action shows, but they also have more hearts than that. Some have less action and more character, etc. Nice medley of stuff. But generally speaking, if it's got a really good script and it's really entertaining, then it will stick with me.
Excellent. Hear, hear. So, you want to talk about our honorable mentions?
Would you like to go first, or shall I, on our honorable mentions, the poor shows that didn't make the cut?
I can go first. So, boy, there are, I won't list them all because there are a bunch, but
yeah,
some ones that people might be surprised by. Die Buster did not make my cut. That's one that I really thought would. But this time, for this particular list, which again could be different next month,
I could read the anguish in your face as you said that. Like, I mean, I've seen paper fucking crease, but not a person's face like that. Holy shit, man! That must have been painful. It was like cutting off a finger.
It was a hard cut. And I've experienced losing a finger tip, so I know the pain. No, Serial Experiments Lane did not make this list, and that's a show I feel quite deeply about, and that has a lot to say. Interstellar didn't make it.
Ooh.
That's one that I may have considered a favorite at one, again,
Yeah.
a year ago,
Yeah.
or next year. It could sneak back. These are hard and these things are fluid. Together, hard and fluid. Let's
Is that
see.
your Tinder profile? Just tell me, is that your Tinder profile? Hard and fluid. The only
Excellent.
3 words on there.
Excellent.
I mean, it's my Saturday night stage name, so clearly you probably stop stealing. Stop stealing, man.
Sorry, I didn't mean to copyright infringe on stream. What else? Gundam Unicorn is my favorite Gundam thing. I think it's a wonderful thing. It has been on my Mal favorites. SDF Macross did not make it. And a show that I actually really did think, even though it's quite a recent show, would make it was Mob Psycho 100, but it is not on the list. And it's a show that I hold every time I've rewatched, and I've seen it 3 times now. I like it more.
Well, you didn't rewatch it enough. Then go rewatch it
exactly
3 more times now, and you'll get on the top 10 at that point.
Yep. But it's one that I love, that my wife loves, and we like. The increase in my esteem for it isn't only because I appreciate the animation. I think it's more because just seeing the heart to the show. There's a lot there that I think maybe the first time through, when it was airing in 2016, I mean, it was and still is this animation juggernaut, but there's so much more to it than that.
Well, we're getting the 2nd season, though, so there'll be even more of it to come.
My anime dad can come back and save us all.
I have to wonder, though, like, they're calling it Mob Psycho 100 Season 2, am I right?
I guess.
Why not? Come on, Mob Psycho 200? Really? I might look. No. Someone calling to tell you about Mob Psycho 200.
Exactly. That was the police. They were after you for your terrible puns.
Well, they're ringing the wrong country for a start. They need to refocus their efforts a little bit.
All right. Well, that's me. What are your honorable mentions?
Right. Well, while Doc's trying to turn the police away and stop himself getting arrested for crimes against not enjoying a good pun. Orange definitely is on there. Orange is definitely, man, like Orange is one of those shows that made me realize very early into my time of watching anime for the podcast how maturely a medium like this could actually tackle really sensitive topics. I mean, anime in a public view, in the public purview, I would say is probably most well known for a couple of things such as tentacles and scantily clad women of questionable age, and also often being quite crude and childish. But Orange was the middle finger to all of that, and it was quite personally affecting to me as well with its subject matter. And on top of handling the subject matter of suicide really maturely, it also actually did a really good job of having a good arc for its lead female character, who unfortunately didn't quite grow as much as I'd have liked personally, but still, that was there. And it has one of my most favorite, scientific goofs ever of the black hole and the letters going through it thereof. I don't even hate the show for it.
Glorious.
After a time, I kind of came to appreciate it just for having this complete nonsensical bollocks in there. So I was totally okay with it after that. So Orange is definitely there. Erased is in there as well, definitely. Erased was a 10 out of 10 show right up until the point in which oh god, I forgot her name. What was the name again?
Oh my, I can't remember her name. I feel terrible. But yeah, no, the young girl.
Yeah, it's a show that I really like so much that I can't even remember her name. Congratulations, Shani, you absolute twat. But my point is that show right up until that point was a 10 out of 10. It was incredibly well paced, ultra tightly written murder mystery meets time travel with a great gimmick to it. And then after that point, this wind kind of went out the sails a little bit with the murder mystery because we're not looking at the girl's problems anymore. But it was just excellent from start to finish. Generally speaking, I just wish it had kind of maintained that level of quality all the way through. So there's that. And the last mention I will give will be Kill la Kill. It was close. It was close to getting there, but the problem with Kill la Kill is while I still find it really enjoyable to watch, and I enjoy both the fact that it has good character arcs, it has great action, it's bombastic, it's lively, it's energetic. It almost seems to capture the spirit of classic Warner Brothers cartoons even. Like, it feels like in some way that it was made almost by the same people who made the likes of Wile E. Coyote and Woody Woodpecker, of all things. If they were, doing a magical girl show that also was incredibly, unashamed of itself.
I'm shocked that didn't make your list.
It's tough. It was a tough choice, man. It was tough. But having rewatched, unfortunately, it has fallen down slightly as I've come to realize, oh yeah, all those reasons that you had in your head for why this fan service, you can get away with it, they don't fly anymore, so tough shit on that. Sorry. It's not quite as, exempt from, being called a bit crass and a bit exploitative. But that's minor. It's still a great show, still incredibly entertaining. It's Trigger at their best also when they were, still fresh and hadn't yet, had the well poisoned by someone who shall not be named.
Nishikori.
I thought, no, don't mention the name.
You're right. Moratorium still in effect.
Yeah, there are other shows that I could mention, but those three in particular were probably the closest I would say to getting on my top 10 who ultimately did not. So, oh well, better luck next year.
Indeed. And hey, I'm sure we'll be rewatching Kill la Kill. I mean, we've said this before, but it's happening. Yeah. We're doing it, and it will have every opportunity to get back on both our lists because it's an anime that I love dearly as well. I didn't mention it in honorable mentions, but it's an excellent show.
Yeah. So, by all means, ladies and gentlemen, please do look out for the Kill la Cast in 2030.
Indeed, right? Yeah, that's when it'll be edited by. Recorded in 2025, edited by 2030.
Yeah, I'll be in a coma at that point, and I'll just kind of gradually doing it in my sleep. But, okay, without further ado, let's actually talk about the stuff that made the top 10. So who wants to go first?
I will go first and keep our current order going.
Right, start strong, dog.
All right, well, I'm probably going to make some people mad because...
If you say no...
No. It's not anything that we actively hate. But... Number 10 on my list. I had to put this on my list. It's a show that I think many people will hear what got cut and think those shows are way better than the show. And objectively speaking, I agree. That's true. But this show means so much to me because of the things that it has done for me this last year or two in particular. And that show is... The Slayers. The Slayers is my number 10 favorite anime ever. It is basically my comfort anime. It is if I'm feeling sick, if I'm down, and I'm including if you want to just say The Slayers the first season, that's fine. It will still go on here. But I'm including Next. I'm not pulling those apart. But yeah, if I'm feeling blue, I want to visit the world of the Slayers and just hang out with that cast. I mean, Lena Inverse is like incredibly iconic character design. Megumi Hayashibara at her best as a Seiyu. Great opening themes, like really fun character interactions and hijinks. There are a few serious moments, but it's a comedy at heart, and it's so much fun. I just love spending time with those people, and because of that, it had to make my list. It's just a thing that I find incredibly soothing for whatever reason, and I understand that it might not track that way with other people, because I don't know. Physical comedy doesn't really do it for everyone, but I don't know, the whole package. There's just something. The 90s-ness of it too is a thing that I like. I mean, the hand drawn, the way the designs are, like the music, everything about it, like there's a little bit of a nostalgic, transportive quality that probably puts it over the top for me as well.
Fair point. I mean, to be fair, like, I think everyone needs a comfort show, and maybe that's not even necessarily anime. Maybe that could be live action. Maybe it could be a film. Maybe it could be a book, something, a piece of comfort fiction, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, I don't think that's an unreasonable thing, thing to say about something that's that personal and that close to you, that you would put it in your top 10 things of all time from that particular medium. I'm certain that as I go along in my own list, there'll be ones I could say are probably comfort shows, even if they don't really have subject matter that is particularly comforting. Maybe that's foreshadowing on my part, what I'm going to get to later, but we'll see. We'll see.
We will see.
So, my number 10. Well, it's a show that took me a very long time to finish, relatively speaking. It's a show that I spent a very long time talking about after I had finished seeing it. And it's The Ancient Mage's Bride, of course. Number 10.
Excellent.
Now,
good pick.
In this point, I should just probably simply say to everyone, go listen to the podcast I did with Anime is Lit on it, and I'll give you all my opinions on it. But if you want a condensed version of why I like this show so much, for one, it's absolutely gorgeous to look at. Two, it's very life-affirming. Three, it features my home country. Britain. That's always good. Thank you very much. Did a good job of getting Britain looking authentic as well. Like, London actually looks like London in it, as opposed to, well, some twisted hellscape. Like, well, I imagine some parts are like that. Admittedly, I live in Manchester myself, but it's an ensemble cast of characters who are all kind of damaged in their own way and who find each other and help each other heal, not without stumbling blocks though, which I also appreciate. Like, the road to getting better is not something that's entirely smooth. Sometimes there will be bumps. Sometimes you will fall over. Sometimes you'll bang your head. I really appreciate the relationship between Chise and Elias, and the fact that in the end, they both grew in their own ways that made them both more self-sufficient rather than relying on each other more. I'm not saying that people can't be codependent, but I'm saying that there's a healthy balance between that. You should be self-dependent, and you can also be codependent as an extra on top of that. And I think the only thing that kind of holds it back for me is just that there were some bits of it that didn't really fly, such as the humor elements of it. There were certain tonal issues with, like, certain comedy skits following immediately after some very grave shit that didn't land. Like, I get the idea of having levity after things go, completely to shit, but there's a gradual step that you take towards getting to that point. You don't do mood whiplash. And as I said on the podcast with Anime is Lit, they do kind of over-rely on Chise being kidnapped to have a plot happen to her, to the point where it starts getting comical. I mean, I'm really surprised that Carter Phileas didn't literally tie her to railroad tracks. That's the kind of thing I was expecting to happen with how much she was getting kidnapped. But yeah, superb show all around. Flaws are minor. I think everyone who gives it a chance will find something to like in it. They'll find a character they love. And I don't think there's a single thing it doesn't handle, at least as far as its serious subject matter, it doesn't do with sensitivity and maturity. So definitely up there. Certainly one I won't ever forget.
It's a show I adore. I mean, for all the reasons you said, it's also very comfortable. There's something warm that I just kind of want to, I want to sink into the vibe of that show. And it certainly has, unlike the Slayers, sinking into that, like, this one has a little bit of a melancholic streak that you can kind of plug into. That is quite nice for those times when you want that. And I think it looks beautiful. I think it's a beautiful story. I mean, it's and that podcast is great. You and Anime is Lit and Bethany did a fantastic job breaking that show down. So please seek that out and seek the show out if you haven't. It is a shoujo kind of thing, but I think it has more of a broad appeal than
give it a chance. Give it a chance. I mean, if nothing else, I can also say that the intro to it, that will get you hooked very quickly. Like, it's got a strong start with a strong hook. Like, how did she end up in this scenario? And then you want to let that unravel over time. And from that point on, you're, letting things blossom outwards from there as far as, what happens to Chise, what happens to Elias, and how the inciting events go from there. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend that even if you are, a bit leery of the, I mean, let's put it this way. If you've ever read the XKCD comic about, the formula to determine what age range is suitable for you to date, which I think is like, you know, half your age plus 7. I don't think that really works in Elias's case because well, his half his age, 10,000 at the minimum, 5,000 plus 7. Yeah, Chisei is definitely not old enough to date him based on that formula. So, but no, definitely ignore what the optics might tell you and give it a shot.
Absolutely. So my number 9 pick, we are jumping genres to the robot genre, in particular the super robot rather than the real robot. And my number 9 favorite anime is Gao Gaigar. And its follow-up OAV, Gao Gaigar Final, really is the thing that helps push it into the top 10 for me. All of this, like, there's... I love super robot shows, man. I love them. I love them to bits because...
Are they your crack cocaine?
Well, look. I wasn't thinking... No. They are much more like crystal meth. I think I'm gonna say.
Okay, crystal meth. No. Glad you.
Look, but when they're rolling and when they're at their best, I think that they kind of make you feel like a kid. At least that's how they make me feel. They make me feel like a child waking up Saturday morning, you know, pouring myself a bowl of kicks and, you know, camping out in front of the TV to be treated to the action cartoons, science fiction stuff, sights, colors, sounds, and wonders. And man, Gao Gaigar just delivers. Now, there's a perception that it doesn't get good until halfway through. And there is a tonal shift halfway through, but I love it from beginning to end. It is a thing that most of the TV show, even though it does get quite heavy at the end, I think it's mostly suitable for kids. Basically, apart from the last episode, the OAV certainly is not. But my God, like it just keeps. It keeps ramping up the stakes. It keeps getting better and better and better. And I mean, it's a robot that uses giant power tools. He's got a giant drill. He's got a.
I have to say, right, like. There's been a lot of discussion about children's shows recently thanks to the She-Ra non-traversy because people are fucking idiots. But I'm not going to talk about it. What I am going to talk about, though, is the fact that, what I am going to talk about...
my heart just stopped for a second. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. I just bring the police to provide context why I'm saying this, but because there's been a lot of discussion about that. Like, a lot of kids' shows back in the day, like Transformers, etc., and G.I. Joe, were just toy commercials. So I find something really amusing that Gao Gaigar is essentially a power tool commercial. In the same way.
I mean, it is.
What did JML co-sponsor this?
It's a home improvement spinoff. No, but look, no, it's like, I mean, it is about the robots. I mean, the robots are center stage, and unlike a lot of robot shows, like, you know, Gundam or Mazinger, like the robots are sentient, and so they're characters. It's not about piloting the robots. It's like the robots have their own personalities, and they all kind of course, combine into. Well, that's not true. They don't all combine into Gao Gaigar, but I lost my train of thought. Oh, the tools. Yes, Gao Gaigar has, let's see. Let me run down a few of these. He's got the dividing driver, which is a giant screwdriver that when he plunges it into the earth, creates a pocket dimension in which he can fight.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Which, that's where the fights take place so that none of the damage occurs in the real world.
Oh, it's the environmentally friendly super robot show. You know, like, we can't have any collateral damage.
Nope. No.
Like, it's not like the Man of Steel shit where they like level Metropolis just because. That's amazing.
He's got the dimensional pliers that rip open the gateway. He's got the Goldian hammer, which is probably my favorite of the tools, which another of the robots will transform into the head of the hammer. And then he uses Goldimarg is this robot's name. And so Goldimarg turns into a hammer, much like Megatron. Bridge will turn into a gun. and Gal Gaigar will use it to, when he smashes his opponents, they just turn into light. And
fair enough.
It's glorious.
Do they have? Is there such a thing in this show as the Galaxy, buffer, which is literally like, something you use to like buff your car, but it's got a Galaxy on it? Because I can see that being a thing. That'd be amazing.
That would be, but but for real though, I mean, it is very silly and very like fun in its own kind of way, but in a super robot way that you'd kind of expect. But it really does have heart, and really by the end, you are very invested and very kind of emotionally like you're in it. And I will say the ending to Gal Gargar Final, I will never spoil this ending because it truly hit me hard and hit me by surprise. It's one of the most, if not the most poignant ending in all of anime. The ending to Gal Gargar Final. It hit me like a fucking sack of bricks over the head with just how beautiful it was.
Did he use it? Did he use his power tools to build a house for the orphan children or something?
I hate you so much. No. One day you'll see it and you'll thank me.
One day, yes. One day I will. I will say. I will say though, Doc, like when you were describing the whole power tools thing, and you said, prior to that, it made you feel like a kid again. That was you talking. I was imagining like a kid who's like, check this out. But that's great. That's awesome. That's all the evidence I need to show to prove that show means a lot to you.
It was really cool that my kids got me a Gal Gaigar model. Not last Christmas, but the Christmas before. It was a tiny toy, and it was of the I can't remember the name of the final form. There's Gal Gaigar, and then he is Gal Figar, and then there's like an ultimate one where he has like a tail and a lion's mane.
Is that Gal Gaigar?
It might as well be.
Sorry.
His hair is is just fire. But no, I have that. And it's very special to me. So, but no, what's your number 9 pick?
Well, this is, I suppose, arguably cheating because it's an adaptation of a visual novel, and people are probably be like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, not this show again!"
Phantom Requiem for the Phantom.
You're kind of on the mark there, only because of its origin point. No, it is of course Steins Gate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Steins Gate, the ultra popular anime that everyone loves and everyone loves to hate. So, okay, let me rewind. Let me give you some context here. Steins Gate is one of the few shows I have watched prior to starting Warui Deshou. And I watched this by buying it on DVD, which in the United Kingdom was probably one of the stupidest things I could have done. Short of, accidentally downloading it, illegally and then finding out it was in Portuguese and I couldn't understand a fucking word of it. But here's the thing, right? For those of you who know about Steins Gate, you know what happens around episode 12. So imagine me watching the first 12 episodes on a collected DVD and thinking, oh, this is enjoyable. It's characters goofing off. It's silly, nerdy nonsense. It's Back to the Future-esque. It's Donnie Darko-esque. There's a bit of darkness here and there. But it's all just light-hearted nonsense. And, we're going to microwave shit and it's great. It's like watching Mythbusters a little bit. Like, I'm surprised that Okabe didn't do a Will It Blend thing at some point, but hey, there we are. And then you hit episode 12, and then the show just literally just out of nowhere cold cocks you in the face, and you're like, oh, that happened. Yeah. And of course, because that was the episode that the show ended on that DVD, I had to wait 6 months for it to come out legally. And this
oh my god, that's brutal.
Yeah. It was like having, it was brutal. And then I watched the second half of it, and what I did not expect it to do, I mean, I know full well, like, it was going to, go down some dark shit with what happens to Mayuri in it, but what I did not expect was to have character vignettes in practically every episode that completely, utterly broke my heart with the decisions that they had to make about, their life, and how even characters, like, when I first saw Faris, I was like, fuck's sake, are we having this kind of shit again? Really? this fucking maid cafe character with, hair curled so ridiculously and this pink, and she's like speaks in nya noise. I'm like, oh god, what the fuck is this bollocks? Japan, why? And then it completely out of nowhere just said, you're a fucking dimwit. Let's give you a reason to care about this character. Let's give you a reason to really care about this character. Because there's a scene that happens between her and Okabe where he says, are you absolutely certain that you want to go through with this decision? And she says, of course I'm not sure. This is tearing me up inside. It's one of the most profound moments of humanity I've seen in an anime show ever. And it's from a character I'd written off as just something that was patronizingly, what's the word for it? It was just being patronized, honest, and targeting a demographic. Like, here's a character that we've constructed not because of any organic reason in the story, but rather just because, we want to pander. And that completely caught me off guard. And then there's the overarching theme as well in that, you have to make decisions using your best knowledge, and you have to make them in the here and now, and then they will stick and there'll be consequences. You can't dodge away from this stuff. It's like the stuff in Prince of Persia, funnily. So, yeah, it was a show that was very funny and really caught me off guard with how heartful it was and how, how much it meant to me with the characters and just each of those individual stories having so much weight to them. It's not perfect. I have had a reappraisal of what they do with Ruka's arc, and unfortunately it could have been handled better. Baby steps, I don't know, but I'm speaking as a cishet guy here again, so please bear with me on this.
Well, I watched that, it's been so long, that my feelings on all that have developed, and I've learned so much more since the show first came out, and so I would be curious how we would respond to that if we watched that today, because I remember just not being equipped and not having language to even categorize in my mind whether that arc was good, bad, what they were doing with it, but I know, like you said, a lot of trans folks were not pleased.
From my perspective, limited though it is, I would say it was utterly insufficient. But that's the thing. That's discussion we'll save for another time.
Okay.
The other thing I will say as well is that I would not be lying if I said that the first half of the show did drag a bit. Once it got going, it never let up. I felt like I was being dragged at 90 miles an hour. I enjoyed it immensely. But people can very well be put off by the show taking a very long time to get to the meat of it, and that I totally understand. But still, for all the great character work it does, for all the good humor it's got in there, the dub's fucking brilliant.
Oh, really?
No, really. The dub is genuinely impressive. I was actually kind of taken aback. Plus, how well they did adaptational stuff. There's a lot of culturally specific Japanese humor in the original, which they translated. Now, some of it's aged not great because there's a Portal reference in there, and who remembers Portal these days?
I do. It's Portal's the seminal game.
It is seminal, yes, but also the cake is a lie thing has become a bit tired.
Well, if is that the line that they reference? Because that, that's rough.
Oh yeah,
that's rough.
Yeah, they Okabe literally says to
oh man,
Suzuka. Oh, and I do protest that cake is a lie.
Oh boy, that one hasn't aged well, huh?
Well, that was a product of the time, to be fair, as well. So it's not like they could have predicted, how quickly that had been driven into the ground. I don't even think Portal 2 was out at the time they did the dub, but I could be wrong on that. Anyway, Steins Gate number 9.
Awesome. Okay. My number 8, this probably... I don't know if its location on the list will surprise you, but I don't think it'll surprise anyone that it's on the list. Berserk. The Sword of the Berserk. We have talked at length about this one. I considered, briefly I considered not putting any anime that we talked about on the podcast on this list for the sake of redundancy, but then I actually just wanted the list to be a true reflection of how I was feeling right now. Yeah. So redundancy be damned. This is a show that, again, please seek out our podcast if you want to know our deep and nuanced and full-length takes on it. And by deep, I don't mean, oh, goddamn, that's deep. I just mean we spend a long time mining that show. But the character play in it is what largely does it for me. I mean, those three, Guts, Casca, Griffith, are absolute just icons in anime to me. I love, especially Griffith. I think it's well known. He's my favorite anime villain. So incredibly well realized. They're such depth. I feel like, I don't know, this anime has always felt very Shakespearean to me. There's something just, it's very, very dark, but not in a way, and Vorgelia brought this up during the cast, you know, if you're thinking about getting into Berserk. The 1997 anime, and I should specify this is what I'm talking about, not the manga, not the CG current iterations, the 1997
nice save.
Work, the Industrial Light and Magic Media Blasters released anime of the 90s. You know, you might think, oh shit, this is gonna be gory as fuck. It's gonna be people cutting people up, and that's like, you know, sort of part of it. And especially at the end, of course, you get a lot of that.
Oh, yeah.
But I would say if you're just pie charting out, right, the ratios of like time that the anime spends doing different things, it actually spends the bulk of its time like its characters talking. Its characters having, you know, inner monologue. Its characters interacting and developing. And you and I both love that shit. The music is tremendous. The backgrounds are tremendous. I think I've said on our podcast, I think it's a masterpiece. Yeah, Sword of the Berserk, 1990s anime. Incredible show.
Yeah, I have nothing to add to that. Nothing. No, you got me. Right. So my number 8 is
the Ocho.
The Ocho. Kind of semi-appropriate, actually, but it is Fistful of Dollars in Space. It is, of course, Trigun.
Hey! On my honorable mentions, definitely.
Yeah. This, again, was another show that I watched before, you know, starting with Warui Deshou, and I got this, thankfully, on the whole DVD, so I didn't have to, like, you know, wait, like, 6 months after watching the Diablo episode, because holy fuck.
Good God.
Imagine having a cliff, like, having a pause and watching Trigun after Diablo. That would have been awful. But
remind me what Diablo? It's been a while. So Diablo is,
it's the episode, and also and what happens in it is that's the first time Vash's you know, super plant arm, whatever you want to call it, fires off. Because
okay.
Yeah. And after that point, you know, he disappears for a bit, and then the stakes get raised. Like people just. The bounty just for hours was rescinded, and then it was just like, no, just get away from him. That's the point when that happens, like when things go really downhill. So, okay, imagine you're me, and you imagine you're thinking to yourself, okay, I've heard a lot about Trigun, I'll give it a go. And you watch it and think that what you're going to get basically is going to be, you know, slapstick, you know, space cowboy action. And that's going to be it.
The Nebraska family, everyone.
And it is that. But then it has a lot more to it that kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah.
First off, it has themes of nature versus nurture in it. You know, we have Vash and Knives, who are as close to identical as you can get. Like, they are, I don't know if it's confirmed they are twins, but they are literally, you know, from the same stock. And we have one who is super, you know, pacifist, and the other one who's just pure psycho. Except that they were raised in the same environment, so it makes you, you know, question like what these ones to another. You know, like what were the seeds that led them down this road? Then on top of that, you have morality issues like, is it right to take a life? On what circumstances is it that you know you should feel that you have to do that? Is there any point in which it is acceptable to do that ever? It's, you know, the show asks questions about that. The action is fantastic in it. I appreciate particularly how the first 5 episodes have this legendary gunslinger who never fires his gun.
Yep.
Like, they held that one for a while, and that made it just brilliant when he finally did it. Like, built up that tension perfect. It features one of the best women in anime, which is Meryl. Meryl is amazing.
Meryl Streif, very good.
Meryl Streif. When Meryl, like, you know, whips out 12, like, she whips out enough handguns to give Big Boss a solid snake, if you know what I mean.
All those derringers.
Yeah. Like, I was like, right, this lady's awesome. She's fucking A. It also features the most amazing preacher ever, who is literally the Machine Gun Preach before it became a film. With, you know, but even, like, you know, even as awesome as the idea of Wormwood, you know, like machine gun rocket launch across, that still has meaning to it because it is his cross to bear. You know, the will to violence, the will to, you know, taking a life. That's literally the image that's being put out there. The Rogues Gallery is fantastic.
Oh,
There's
yes.
so much that's great about this show, but I do not like the ending at all. I am really, really not a fan of it.
Wow. That's
damn. It ends too ambiguously. It ends way too ambiguously for my taste. Like, did he kill Knives? Did he not kill Knives? Like, now maybe some people are okay with speculating on that, but I think that for a show like this, it would have behooved it to actually, you know, conclude on a solid message. I mean, full disclosure here, I am of the opinion that there are times when, and I've not hopefully never be put in this situation myself, but sometimes I would argue that there are situations where it'd be necessary to take a life. I mean, Legasso, like when he's doing what he's doing and he's about to have Meryl and, you know, Millie murdered by the, you know, possessed mob, I would say if that's the only way you're going to stop him, you do it. And there are other circumstances as well in which that is necessary, I would argue. Not very specific contextual ones, I would say. I'm not talking like, you know, it's just, you know, the cuts to the chase, you know, oh, I don't like you, bang, whatever. But I think the show would have been better off for it if it hadn't actually had Vash outright kill Knives so he didn't have to kill again. That, I think, would have been a much stronger message for it to end on than how it did, which was just that he kind of walks back to the group and is waving all happy, smiling, and he's got, like, knives slung over his shoulder. I'm like, no prison's going to hold that fucker. If he is alive and you put him in the slammer, he's out within a day. Revolving door. It's going to happen. So, no, but other than that, fantastic show. More depth than you might think, but still also great fun as well.
Absolutely. This show meant a lot to me. It still means a lot to me. Like, I saw it for the first time when I was 17, and it really, really fucked with me. In the best possible way, I think. Like, I was pretty down about it for like 2 or 3 days afterwards. Just thinking, like, the character of Vash made a deep impression on me. And not so much because I thought that he had made the right decisions, but it was the fact that here you have this character with a moral kind of imperative, a code of ethics that is fairly extreme, especially given the context in which he finds himself. And he still holds to it, even though it makes him suffer, even though it might make other people around him suffer at different times. I mean, this whole notion, you know, there's in philosophy, right, when you're talking about ethics, for a long time, people talked about the good. You know, that was the whole Greek idea of flourishing, right? You were meant to be seeking after the good, doing your living your best life, I guess. But then, you know, the Enlightenment kind of comes along, and people like Immanuel Kant, and then suddenly you have this idea in moral philosophy of rights, and that doing what is right it's like it trumps everything, no matter kind of what other goods may fall by the wayside. And gosh, seeing that kind of play out, seeing it, even if you think he's mistaken, which, I mean, I maybe he is. It really spoke to me, that whole thing. Not to mention, I mean, just the twists and turns in the storyline, and how poignant it is. And there's a bunch of great villains in the show.
Oh yeah.
Every person I've ever shown this anime to, and I've shown this anime to a lot of people who I don't think are would consider themselves anime fans, they all end up really liking it. Despite, the animation, of course, has not aged well, but we are not the Sakuga cast, so we're really let that slide.
It's one of those things where you bottle it like a wine. It will, not be as mass marketable today as it would be, but I still think it holds up in its own right. I don't think it's reasonable to, compare it to the animation standards of today. There's still a lot of fluidity and it's still a lot of comic vibe and verve to it, so you know what? Fuck, like, you know, it being aged and all that. I think it's perfectly fine as is. It accomplishes what it needs to do.
For sure. So are we ready? Is the world ready for my lucky number 7?
If it's what you're thinking of, then, well... All right, lead in, my good sir. Carry on.
All right.
Ignore my bad humor.
Here we go with number 7. This is the second to last anime I'm going to bring up in this list that we have talked about on a podcast.
Ooh, all right.
At length. And it is an anime from this year. It is Devilman Crybaby.
Nice.
It is, to me, Masaki Yuasa's most, like, the vision he had for this was so incredibly well realized. Everything about this show, I think, is great. To me, there's not a bad point. I know that it, you know, everyone has kind of complaints about it. Well, that's probably stretching, but like the people that there are a lot of different complaints, I guess I should say. Like some people think it's not experimental enough, animation wise, and I would say that it still is pretty damn experimental and pretty, you know, stretchy, squashy sort of thing, especially during the gory parts, which were made more palatable by the fact that you have Yuasa doing his experimentation. Some people were not pleased with the way it ended, and fuck all of you. The ending ruled. It ruled.
Well, we're going back under 200 subscribers now, then, aren't we?
Yeah, that's right. It's going to roll back.
Cancel the stream. It's just going to start dropping like my bank account after I get paid. Ching, 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 ching.
No, look, an ending has not hit me that way since Evangelion. It was... what a powerful message, a powerful story. And, you know, I hadn't seen or read... I'd seen a couple of the 80s OAVs of Devilman, but I hadn't seen the complete story. I hadn't read the complete story. And so I realized a lot of this you can attribute to the original work, but there's so much... To me, there's like just so much hidden depth and so much power in this story that you can keep on digging and you'll keep on finding things. So yeah, I think Masaki Yuasa's modern day reimagining, revisioning of this Go Nagai classic is my 7th favorite anime of all time. It's punched harder than anything is punched with me in ages. And once again, you can hear our podcast with Anime as Lit about this on our podcast feed, on Anime as Lit's podcast feed. There's several YouTube videos up of snippets of the discussions we've had. So those are probably our most popular YouTube things. They definitely are, I think, numbers-wise. So but if you haven't seen them, check those out to see how I and Shadon feel about this one.
Well, you provided me with the most amazing segue imaginable. It's my number 7 here. When you were speaking about punching, it is, of course, One Punch Man.
Okay. All right.
So thank you for that segue there, Doc. That was incredible. So, all right. Let's not talk about One Punch Man for a second, but by example, let me instead talk about Superman of all things. So, okay, why am I talking about Superman? Well, here's the thing, right? In modern comics, and also in films, DC films, of course, I don't think that the writers generally get how you write a Superman story, because if you're trying to write a Superman story in which he must, overcome an opponent through physical force, guess what? He's fucking Superman. Of course he's going to win. There's no tension behind this. There's nothing interesting behind it. But that's all they seem to be capable of doing. This is why the Richard Donner films succeeded and the ones that followed did not, because it was literally, okay, Richard Donner films, let's have an idea about what Superman is deal. Let's have a deal with a conflict that's about his humanity. Whereas the other ones were like, no, let's just have him punch a dude in spandex. Great, whatever. Who gives a fuck about that? Not me, I say. So here's the thing, right? You've got DC and all their well-paid, really, big cadre of writers doing comics for Superman. They don't know what the fuck they're doing with it. And you've got some guy named One in Japan, probably in a very tiny apartment, making a webcomic. and he's, probably working a day job, 9 till 5. I'm speculating really horribly here about one's life, so please forgive me if, I'm completely off base here. But he goes, you know what? I'll do a webcomic. I'll do a web manga about a character who is incredibly powerful. And he will, in doing so, write a Superman story that is better than anything since the Richard Donner movies, or possibly the DC animated universe. Holy fucking shit, I cannot believe this show even works, because a character who literally can destroy everything with a single punch should be the most boring show on the planet. On paper, it is doomed for failure, and it's the exact opposite in execution. It's so engaging. The action's incredible. The cast of characters are amazingly well imagined. Like, both the heroes and the villains in this, like, the rogues gallery is just so fertile in its imagination, its diversity, and like the enemies. So like, literally the first one we get is a guy who turned into a giant lobster and had nipples drawn on him. What an amazing opening scene to introduce you to this world.
Crab
That was incredible. Yeah, which got fucking Sharpie nipples put on him. That's amazing. That's the best thing ever.
That guy's chin.
Yeah, the fucking
incredible.
ball sack. That's what it is. That's what it is.
I tried to show my wife One Punch Man. I mentioned, a lot of success showing her Mob Psycho. She loves Mob Psycho. Couldn't make it past the Crebelante scene.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. But for me, like, if there's a trend you'll see in the shows I'm putting in my top 10, is that they succeed at a lot of different things. They're juggling a lot of balls, spinning a lot of plates, and they're doing it really well. So One Punch Man has great comedy. I mean, the second episode has one of the most amazing opening comedic skits ever, in that after being introduced to how powerful Saitama is, that he can, destroy these godlike beings with ease, that he can't take out a fly in his apartment. That's genius. That is one of the most genius comedic skits ever, like, transitioning from the first episode to the second. But then we've got the politics. We've got the idea, about responsibility of power, how it means, when you are that powerful that it becomes boring. What it means to be a hero in the first place, like Genesis' own arc, like, oh, I want to, live up to you, but it's not about being physically strong that's important.
Yeah.
And then the whole social media, public perception thing, the fan clubs.
Yes.
Smiling Mask, despite, in theory, posing no threat to any of the other characters, is one of the most slimy, reprehensible pieces of shit I've ever watched in a show. I hated him deliberately. I mean, yeah, sure, you've got Boros coming in at the end, fucking shit up. But Smiling Mask, like, with his, laser focus on public image at the expense of actually trying to save people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And just also that even as the show goes along, it manages to avoid pitfalls that otherwise would trap lesser shows. Like, oh, we have One Punch Man here, we have Saitama. What the fuck is the other point in the other heroes? But then they get their moment to shine in the big 2-episode finale when they're fighting, not Clayface, I'll call him. I can't remember what he's.
I know what you mean, though.
Yeah,
the invaders.
Like they get their moment to shine when they're fighting him while Saitama's elsewhere, because he's literally just one man. They're still useful and they're still there doing their thing and contributing, and that was great. So yeah, great show. There's not really much holding it back, in my opinion. I just think that I would prefer perhaps something more to happen in the end rather than just in the long term. But I know that we're leading into a season 2, thank God. So it's just one of those things where, like, I want more, and I want some bigger changes to the world, but they're going to come anyway. So it's kind of like, well, what more did you want?
Yeah. There, kind of the most underratedly interesting thing to me about One Punch Man is how the hero organization and kind of it's sort of what's the word I'm looking for, monolithic kind of grasp on all things superhero, and how popular superheroes are and what their jobs can be, how high they can rise, like just the politics of that show.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about superheroes as just talented individuals, say, or exceptional people, you have someone like Saitama, who is like the greatest of his generation in terms of raw talent. Like, there's all will fall before him. He can achieve whatever he wants to achieve as a hero, in terms of what the hero organization values, like results wise. But because of the instruments they use to calculate worth, he's at the back of the line. He's like a C class, D class hero. Exactly. And there's all this red tape, and he's just kind of not being allowed to shine. Because of these weird systems. Sorry, go ahead.
You also see that with one of the best characters in the show, Moomin Rider.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Moomin Rider is just a dude.
Love Moomin Rider.
That is it. He is just a dude in bike gear. He has no skills. He's not even like Batman. Like, Batman is just a regular dude, but he has gadgets and training. Moomin Rider has neither of those things. He just has a bike and bike gear. And
and a willingness to throw that bike at people.
I know. That's pretty good. That's out there. But how many times do we see Moomin Rider actually throw himself into incredible danger? Like with the Sea King.
Mm-hmm.
He can't touch the Sea King. Not in his wildest fantasies would he be able to even scratch him. But he still does it. He still tries. And then you've got like pricks in the A rank like Smiling Mask who would never even dare get involved in the actual hero business, as opposed to, him mugging it on the fucking camera on like, Fox News or whatever. But Moomin Rider, like, he's a treatise on the real idea of heroism and the value of that. He'll never get beyond C rank because he literally is physically limited from getting above that point. But he's the best hero of the lot of them, even above Saitama, just because he actually is heroic in his actions. He will get involved in earth-shattering events that could very well kill him with a flick of a finger. But he does it because it's the right thing to do, to save people's lives. He was one of the best characters in the show because he was that ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
He taught me, or reminded me, that ordinary people like me can still be heroes, can still intervene to save people's lives, despite lacking anything that gives me a definitive advantage or definitive strength over another person. Heroism is power all unto itself that every single one of us can have. Not just, people who can, smear giant mosquito ladies on the wall, or who happen to, be super cyborgs armed with, Iron Man tech. That's the thing and that's, again, a testament to this show's writing. It's one, clearly thought to himself, all right, here's the power structure, here's the hero institution, and I'm going to imagine all of the things and the scenarios that will come from that. A guy on top, doing the media stuff who will actually get involved. Guys lower down doing the grunt work who still work hard. The top Tiger brothers who, are sneering, prissy bastards. The S-rank heroes who actually do work really hard, but get lit from it. And then even things like we have Blast, who we never see in the show. But his absence is conspicuous and gets you thinking, who is he? Why is he not here? What would he get up in the morning for? There's so much to this show that is just beyond simple goofs. And it's fan-fucking-tastic for it.
I love to contrast what we were talking about, the politics and structure of the kind of power behind everything in One Punch Man with Mob Psycho. There's no similar giant monolithic structure dictating, what psychics need to do or who they need to be.
I actually disagree. There is. It's social standing.
Okay, yeah. So this is okay. Well, this is what's an invisible hand, and it's environmental type pressures, right? Like societal,
no, actually,
more so than like here's a giant company.
It is a registered building, like. Yeah,
and so I know that One Punch Man has a different, like, I think co-writer or writer, but one One is he's the writer of Mob and he's the artist for both. I think he has input on the One Punch story, but it's interesting because in Mob, psychics are meant to, espers I guess, are meant to blend in. They're not, and that's good. Whereas in One Punch Man, they're meant to stand out and to achieve and to openly kind of use their talents for everyone's good. In Mob, the way that you can work for the common good is to be seen as little as possible. and to be completely ordinary and kind of
I wonder how that's contemporary. I wonder
in.
how that is contemporary to social structures and norms, quote unquote.
Yeah, very interesting to me to think about. But all right, so shall we move to my number 6?
Yes, give us your 6.
All right, this is one that has been much higher on the overall list before, and it could very well on a different day rise higher than it currently is. Bakemonogatari.
I was wondering when that'd come up.
yeah. I am a huge Monogatari fan, and Bake is my absolute favorite of that series. Here's another anime where just the cast is just this group of people that I really, really like spending time with. Now, they're not all fantastic, you know. Araragi is a bit of a shit sometimes, and especially when he and is it Mayuri the snail when they are
I know
there's some
that's
a bit of uncomfortable comedy there. I mean, there are defenders of it, and there are people that can put it in different contexts, and I'm not here to judge that stuff. I'm going to set that aside. But Hitagi Senjogohara, one of my all-time favorite anime characters. She's amazing heroine, amazing character.
She's a quality lady, definitely.
Quality lady. Goes through just so much character development over the course of Bake, and then particularly Monogatari second season. Has a couple of wonderful arcs at the beginning and end of that. And Tsubasa, our resident Neko girl, she's lovely. I love Kanbaru even, and how uncomfortable she makes Araragi, and her whole monkey's paw story in Bake. Even the sort of weird, it's not weird, but the fact that episode 12 of Bakemonogatari should not be in the middle of Tsubasa's arc. It is completely out of place, but it's amazing. It's incredible. It's a really powerful and moving, I feel, conversation at the end between two people in love, and there's just so much to love about this for me. You can get into the lore and the powers, and you could come for the ladies, you could come for the dialogue. The dialogue is second to none, and it's part of what makes the show so dense an experience, is just bam 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 bam, like characters are verbally fencing. It is much more akin to fencing than actually talking to each other.
Yep, verbal sparring.
It's so fun to untangle.
No, there's a British word for it. It's called banter.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Banter Monogatari. There you go.
There you go. That's 10 out of 10. Beautiful. I love it. Superb. But also there's it's got these other aesthetic qualities that I find immersive. The music, I think, is just fucking fantastic all the way through. And every Monogatari show, the music is stunningly good, and it's very different than a lot of what I hear in anime, or Japanese video games. It's a very unusual palette of sounds, and visually speaking, it's incredible. It's very experimental. It's very cinematic for a show that is largely about people talking. There's a lot of really good shot composition, transitions, things they do with the backgrounds, and it's just a glorious, just holistic experience. And it is a show that, upon hearing this, people are going to bother me to complete it because I haven't gone beyond Monogatari second season for various reasons. But not because I don't like it. I absolutely adore Monogatari, and it is a thing I will get back to, and it is a show that I think will be in my top 10 for some time to come.
Fair play. All right, so number 666. It's our first crossover. It will be Devilman Crybaby.
You had to put this at number 6, didn't you?
No, that was simply, but that was, well, it was intentional, but the 666 thing just came into my head now. I felt inspired. So, man, I cannot think of an anime show that I've seen, with possibly the exception of Violet Evergarden, that has had such incredibly well done emotive acting from its characters. Like the scenes between well, my memory's so shit, I'm so sorry. Between Miku's
Akira and Miki.
Yeah, Akira and Miki, and Miki's dad, when he finds his wife and his son. Like that, to me, tops some of the best performances I've seen from living actors in terms of getting emotion across. And this is just people, drawing on paper, basically.
Yeah.
But on top of that, it's just a great mythos as well. It's got a great arc to it with it, its lead characters, Satan himself being redeemed or feeling human empathy. Like, that's the core message at the end. Like, even the most evil, the most damned of us all can still come back into the light. It has things to say, about sensationalism, about, modern politics, about fearing the unknown, fearing, demons, which you can read in as many different things, such as, minority groups, racial lines, people who are not het. You can read that so many different ways. Features a very strong, very solidly written gay romance. Miki itself is a great character. I love it. I love the bones of her. It has just some great standout what the fuck moments, like when Rio shoots up the fucking dock for no reason. Like, if you're not going to watch the show after that point, like, then I don't know what would make you want to watch it.
Yeah.
It's just all around excellent. I think the only reason the shows that are above this are better, in my opinion, is just because they entertain me more. Like, they gave me a more well-rounded thing, like, bulk of why I adore. Whereas this one is very melancholy. It's melancholy for a lot of it, particularly as it hits the second part of it, and it can be a bit too dour for some people. I do understand, like, people think, oh god, this is just miserable. But it's misery with a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just maybe you need to squint a little bit to see it. But yeah,
very well put.
Phenomenal show.
Agreed, and well said by you. I agree on all points. So my number 5 is something that has been my number 1 in the past. I've often said to people this is my favorite anime, but I was just giving a real hard think on it, and haven't seen it in a long time. Other things I've watched and rewatched and have made significant impact on me since then. But I still love this thing. I still adore it, and I want to go back and someday rewatch it when I have the time. It is Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
I do need to watch that, because I joined in a rabbit room with some of the anime's lit crew, and both of them, sorry, and some other people, and it on paper seems like it's a dry show, but it also seems very enjoyable. Like, I do need to give that a proper watch. Like, it seems like the epic that people make it out to be. Truly.
I mean, I think from a world building point of view, you will really, really appreciate it, and from a character building as well standpoint, it's got the goods. It's based off a series of novels written in the 80s, and tremendously well written, tremendously, from everything I know of, well realized adaptation of those novels. I can't, just the fact that it exists, that throughout the late 80s and early 90s, or no, all the 90s, they made 110 straight to video episodes of this, like, science fiction, like, obscure, well, not obscure to them, but, like, I mean, can you imagine that happening anywhere, like, at any time? Such a crazy thing that it got made, but I'm so happy it did. So many iconic characters, a fantastic exploration of different political systems, of their pluses and minuses. I think, I mean, gosh, too much time has passed for me, I think, to accurately remember if the show has a bias or not. But I think it actually, to my recollection, it does mostly a good job of showing that there are good things about seemingly awful political systems, and ones that we might sort of accept as the de facto good ones actually have a lot of downsides. And there's a lot of twists, a lot of turns. Epic is the word you use, and it is absolutely the epic space anime. If you like world building and with a heavy political bent, or if you like hot dudes, because apparently, like, this is, I've tweeted about this before, but this is a show I never expected in a million years for the Fujoshi fan base to latch onto it. But
if you like that, that's fantastic.
And it rules.
I mean that with all seriousness.
Because, like, listen, it was such a hard sell before trying to get people to watch this, because it's just like, well, it's a very dry space epic. It's very political, and people are just like, I don't want to watch anime for that, you know. But like, this is just another access point to something great, and I'm totally for it.
I mean, I've not decided yet if I'm team mustard or team ketchup. I'm sure I'll figure it out at some point.
I think it's team. Is it team mustard or team mystery blueberry sauce? I think that's the divide.
Whoa, that's a curveball. Holy shit. In all seriousness, like, that's amazing as well. That's been the way that this show has been reinterpreted. Like, it's always good to see old stuff reinterpreted in new ways that people find appealing. And hey, you know what? Like, I won't, be all that interested, the hot boys kind of thing. But if people use that as a getting on point for a good space political drama, well, fucking, you know what? However you want to come into something, that's your entry point. And if that's why you love it, that's great. You should be proud of that.
100%. All right.
All right. So you are giving me all the amazing segues here, I must say, Doc. Like, this is great. Like, you gave me the One Punch Man, and now you give me the space opera thing. Well, it had to happen eventually. We were going to mention at some point is, of course, Macross Frontier.
Number 5? Holy shit.
That was worth it just for that reaction
Number
on your face.
5?
Do you want to take the knife out of your back that I just put there?
Number 5?
Mambo number 5.
I'm stunned. This is an anime you've been self-identified with since you've seen it, and it's number 5 on your list?
This is correct.
Wow.
Breathe, man, breathe.
I'm totally, like, what's the word you got? Gobsmacked. I'm
Flummoxed
gobsmacked right now. Yeah.
Flummoxed, confused, perplexed, betrayed.
Bamboozled.
There's plenty of, there's plenty of long words here. They'll get you the triple word score on Scrabble. But okay, so I could, I suppose, just try and explain why it's 5 and not that, but I'll just start with why I love Macross Frontier. It's a complete package. It's everything I could ever want in a piece of entertainment. It's got great humor. The action is fucking ball-bustingly brilliant. I did say I wasn't going to include the movies in general, but like the fucking ending bit where they surf the giant, Macross Quarter from orbit, like, I had to take a moment to breathe then, because I honestly felt like I was going to have a heart attack from how good that was. And, the space battles, like, but then there's also the characters, like, Macross Frontier not only has a great primary cast of the 3, Ranka, Cheryl, and Alto. And yes, I will even defend Alto, surprisingly enough.
Sure, yeah,
like,
same.
Like, people, say, like, oh, he's a complete pissy, whiny piece of shit. And I'm like, yes, but there is context for why he's like that, and why he is always so tightly wound. He's a character with a backstory to him that makes sense and, colours his actions, although I will also agree that, if you do find him a bit too piss and vinegary, then I can't, take that away from you. Features one of my favourite leading ladies in anime, which is, of course, Cheryl. Features another great lady in Ranka. Like, Ranka's not, like, a character I'm interested in that way, but she has an amazing arc that affirms her as a self-actuating woman. Like, it kind of blew my mind to watch a love triangle, because, like, my experience with love triangles prior to that point was secondhand knowledge of shit like Twilight, and I just thought, oh, fuck love triangles, man. They're just shit. They're just like, self-insert, romance wank. Who the fuck cares? Like, they're not going to mean anything substantial for characters. And you have Frontier come along and says, oh, no, you can have it be your romance wank if you want. You can have, Team Ranker or Team Cheryl. You can get all your hashtags flying. But it also actually then help develop the characters in ways that are not related to the love triangle at all. Like, Ranker's moment where she says to Alto, I love you, but I'm not going to let that stop me from finding more out about myself. It was like, it was fucking revelationary to me that you could have a love triangle that would do that. So it gets to have its cake and eat it. The secondary cast is incredible. I love all of the, SMS characters, particularly the fact that most of them are women, but they're not objectified like, eye candy women. They're all competent. They're all doing it. It's multi-ethnic. Mm-hmm. Like, that's also pretty good. And to clarify, I'm just talking strictly about the TV show here. I'm trying not to include the movies because that admittedly would be giving it a leg up. It's
a leg up that I give it.
Hey, that's fair. The music is phenomenal. The visual design is incredible. The action scenes, like the one where, for example, they go to save the Macross Galaxy, like, there's something about action scenes that Frontier does so well that I find a lot of shows don't, which is that they provide context for why you should be excited and why you should be tense. Like, in the case of the Galaxy, we're going to save, a ton of people who are in immediate danger. And then there's the personal connection for Cheryl. Like, when she's singing with that at the back of her mind, you feel sympathy for her on a personal level. And then, of course, with her singing to support Alto from a distance, and all that. And it also has great political intrigue. It has some amazingly slimy villains. Like, they're great. It has an amazing alien threat in it that actually feels, like, genuinely alien as opposed to here's a humanoid with little weird bulges on its face. Like, the Verm. Why am I saying the Verm? God, Franks is poisoning me. The Vardra is what I was going to say. The Vardra, like, when they're introduced, they come across as incredibly powerful and incredibly dangerous. Great in number, but also really devastating individually. Mm-hmm. It's a show that I can compulsively rewatch over and over. It's great. However, the reason it doesn't get much higher than that is because it has two principal flaws. The TV show ends too inconclusively for my taste. Like, if you have a love triangle, I think you should probably try and actually deliver on it rather than leaving it up to, doujinshi or fanfiction. Actually make a solid statement on it. And they do in the movie, but I'm not counting the movie for my appraisal here, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Two, the fan service has not aged well. Like, I initially kind of gave some of it a pass, and some of it I still do, because in context it makes sense, like with Cheryl being a pop singer. But the fact that the first time we see Ranker when she's talking on the phone is just to her ass, and she literally comes across like she's talking out of it. No thanks. Don't want that. Please no. Or the fact that one of the first things we see of Cheryl is when she gets, of course, off the transport and the gravity kicks in, then, of course, cut to her chest because, of course, she's got big tits, it's heavy. You get the point behind that. I'm like, I get it. I fucking get it. Yeah, she's attractive. She's hot. Yes, I would. But you don't need to, rub it literally in my face. We can be a bit more mature than that. Not to disparage people who are in for that kind of stuff, but I'm just saying that, that I really do not appreciate that kind of shit. But that's blemishes on otherwise a complete package that is otherwise about as perfect as it's ever going to get for me. I adore it. I absolutely adore Frontier. It's one of the few shows that I will still listen to music from. I still have as a wallpaper on my phone. Like, I would love to get an SMS badge to put on my jacket.
Yes.
If I could ever find someone who'll do that for me, then that'll happen. It is literally one of the best things I've ever watched. That just gave me everything I ever wanted. Just slightly held back from getting higher is all. So.
Whew. Well, I must say I'm surprised. Because it's a show that all your complaints about it are just wrong. They're just wrong. And
all two
you're
of
a
them.
Terrible liar. Yeah. You don't,
Oh, did you see my nose grow longer then?
I mean, I have to reevaluate our whole friendship, our whole podcasting and streaming relationship. If a person is not down for seeing anime titty, I mean, I just don't know. I don't know.
I like it, but I have to say, there are times when it's just a bit too on the nose.
Or not enough on the nose.
Is this the point where you come out as a filthy degenerate? If you want to reveal it live on stream to the whole wide world, then you go right ahead, my friend. You be a degenerate. You be proud.
The world knows. The world knows. It's okay.
It does now, that's for sure.
No, look, we'll be talking about Frontier later, so I will save my.
oh yeah, I was gonna say like yeah, I didn't doubt that it was gonna end up on the high part of your list.
So I'll save my ammo and just go straight to my number 4, which is Revolutionary Girl Utena. Now, Utena is, I think, the best of the Ikuhara directed original works. I know he directed stuff before, like Sailor Moon Wise, but he's directed 3 TV shows. This, and of course the follow-up film, which is incredible. He's then directed in, I believe it was 2010, Mawaru Penguin Drum, which is also phenomenal. And then in 2015, he directed Yurikuma Arashi, an often mentioned and favorite anime of Emily Rand. She likes all. Shout outs. She's an Ikuhara fan in general, as am I. But I think Utena is his longest TV show, and I think the one where, I don't know, everything about it just came together really, really well. I don't want to keep using like the same adjectives about these shows, but like there is a depth to Utena. I mean, there's a lot of anime scholarship that has been written about this, to do with, you know, gender and sexuality and trope subversion and all sorts of things. And I think that it succeeds wildly on that front, and it just succeeds as just a story. I think you don't have to think too terribly hard about it to come away from it being satisfied with the tale that you've been told. Got a lot of fantastic characters. Utena Tenjo is just a wonderful female lead. Love everything about the way the show looks and sounds. Again, extremely 90s. Love the aesthetic. And the movie,
best aesthetic though there is.
So good. And the movie cranks that up even higher. And the movie is really interesting. Like, I'd love for you to see this and then see the movie, because the movie is like a distillation of the plot of the show into kind of a more abstract concept that doesn't make sense unless you've seen the TV show, though. It's a really neat kind of companion piece. And I mean, it can, you know, of course, it was brought over to the States before the entire TV show was brought over because,
oh, great,
you know, licensing.
Yeah,
companies.
You know.
But, you know, I having not really talked to anyone who's seen it before they'd seen the TV show, I don't know how much sense you could make of it. I mean, you could probably look at it and go,
well, you have a willing guinea pig here if you ever want me to do that.
No, I want you to see it in the correct order.
As intended, yeah.
Absolutely. But even considering just the television show and not the film, it still is number 4 on my list because of just everything that it tries to do, and everything it tries to say about psychology and, again, gender and sexuality. I think that it's really, really successful at doing that, and is a show that made a huge impact on me when I first saw it a few years ago, and I desperately need to go back and revisit it because there's so much there. And I think even still, you know, people will, as I have done, talk about the show in terms of what it says about gender and sexual identity stuff with the 2 main characters, but there's this whole arc in the middle of the show that I still am trying to make sense of, and whether or not it fits into that, how it fits into that, what it exactly is trying to get at. Boy, there's so much meat there to chew on. And while I have absolutely loved everything that Ikuhara has done since then, I don't think he's done anything that has topped this.
I see. So would you call it No. How could I not? How could I not?
You had to do it.
I saw that low hanging fruit and I wanted to squeeze it.
Had to do it to him.
So, right. So, number 4. This, just to remind folks, is the point where we start getting into my 10 out of 10s. This is like the stuff that is near perfect. And there have only been 4 shows that have actually got to that place. That's why they're on this list. This one is the most recent, and it's one that I originally did not consider a 10 out of 10, but have then rewatched to death. It is Land of the Lustrous.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So, yeah. Now, you did call me a liar before, Doc, and you are right in one respect, and I did lie on this particular live stream. I said that, you know, you need to properly dial down your comedy appropriately when you're coming in from particularly rough points. Unless you happen to be Haruko Ichikara, in which case you can just do some sort of literary black magic and have that happen and have it still be completely tonally appropriate and also very funny. I cannot recall a show I've watched that made me laugh this much, but also kind of broke my heart. Apart from, of course, the ones later up on my list. It's also the best tour de force for CGI I've ever seen in anime. Easily. Like, it's embarrassing how good this show is relative to its contemporaries that just cannot or will not do justice to 3D anime. Like, I was blown away by how good it was. It's utterly beautiful to behold. Just the landscapes even in this show. Like, the undersea bit, the plains of grass on the island, the schoolhouse itself. The action is fantastic. They make some amazing use of the 3D camera here when they wouldn't be able to do that if they'd done it in 2D to sell either A, the physicality and the intensity of the fight scenes with the, you know, the Lunarians, or the one where where they, you know, are being pursued by a Lunarian. It feels like I'm watching Evil Dead. And I'm like, the fuck is this? Where did this happen? Why am I watching something that generally has me afraid in this manner because of the way the camera's been executed from Japanese anime? How the fuck did they do this? The voice acting is all around incredible. I have a real soft spot for Lucille's voice actress. Of course, we have, you know, oh my god, whoever played Umai Kumiko, representing from Sound Euphonious, Phosphophyllite. Foss's arc covers so much thematic and philosophical stuff. Covers the, you know, the Fermion paradox. Not the Fermion paradox, that's the completely wrong thing. The Theseus paradox.
Yeah.
The Fermion paradox, or the Fermion thing, was something I discussed on Frank's. Sorry, mixing my words there, okay, kind of tongue-tied. But it covers that. It covers, you know, the idea of what it means to gain power, to seek a different position in life, consequences that follow from that as well. It's just wonderfully entertaining. Like, the comedy always lands. I don't know how that happens in something that otherwise comes from an entirely different culture. It's just a joy to watch from start to finish, even at its most melancholy and depressing. And the music is fucking phenomenal as well. The only thing that stops it from being higher, in my opinion, is just again, like sort of with how I said before about Trigun and such, I would have preferred a more conclusive ending that kind of changed the status quo more, but that's a function of it being adapted from the manga. By the way, this is the only show I have ever watched that's actually made me buy the manga that goes with it. And that alone deserves like an accolade in of itself.
Yeah.
It is a tour de force from start to finish, easily.
It's something that I need to finish because you're going to be very mad at me if I don't actually. I'm going to sit down and watch it. I'm waiting for the moment to strike, and then I'm going to plow through all of it. Thank you. Yes, I feel it. I feel the finger.
I will literally go grab my copies of Land of Lustrous and I will throw the book at you. That's what I could do right now, and that's what I feel like doing, just to get the point across.
Well, look. Save your ammunition. Save your manga. I'm going to watch it. We've already got, we've got a podcast in the can about it. You do. With a couple of special guests. And I think that more than anything else might push me to burn through it so I can hear what you have to say about it.
What if I literally push you into watching it?
Are your arms long enough to reach across the pond and push this guy?
All right, let's get started. No, unfortunately not. But I'll find another way to make you do it. I'll learn some nudge theory in the meantime.
The John Locke's action at a distance. Yes. Well, one I need to watch. From one that I need to watch for the first time to a show that you need to rewatch, Evangelion. Neon Genesis Evangelion, my number 3 favorite anime of all time.
I shouldn't laugh, but man.
It's tremendous. Like, everything about it is just amazing, and I hated it. I really did not like it the first time I watched it when I was 19 years old. Well, you know what? No. Okay, for completeness sake. So I watched it once through when I was 19, and I was like, whoa, something cool just happened, but I don't know what it was. Whoa! And then I watched it with a friend like a couple weeks later, and he was like, fuck this shit. And I was like, yeah, fuck this shit.
Did you literally look over your shoulder while you were saying that?
Exactly, yeah.
Is like anyone looking? Right, okay.
Being emboldened by his anger. And it's like, not gonna spoon feed me answers, not gonna tell me what you're about, being all esoteric and shit. Nah, I don't need you. But I then, over a number of years, listened to a lot of people talk about it, read a lot about it, and came to the conclusion that I needed to rewatch it. I mean, I was only fucking 19 years old. And so a couple years ago, when I was still in my late 20s, I rewatched it.
At the dawn of time.
Yes, exactly.
I merely can't be making jokes, sci-fi, because I'm in a similar...
I pulled the crank on my TV and put in a, pre-Betamax. And no, I watched it and totally blown away. And I'm only talking about the TV series because I haven't seen End of Evangelion in a while. And I'm not including the Rebuild movies in this. They're a kind of different kettle of fish. But this TV show, I mean, as an adult, as a person who, since I had watched it, their critical faculties have gone up quite a bit. I was an undergrad the first time. I've had earned 2 master's degrees since then. Definitely become sharper when it comes to like subtext and kind of ascertaining what media is trying to say or getting at. And I had gotten married and had kids. Become an adult, I had been diagnosed with anxiety disorder. I was still undiagnosed at that time for depression. I've since been diagnosed for that. Had OCD, still have OCD, but I had been diagnosed when I watched Ava. And I think that in large part, this show is meant for like to speak to people with mental illness and to illustrate what that is like, and unbelievably successful at that. I mean, there's also so much there with the character relationships, with high drama, with the science fiction stuff is pretty neat. There's amazing iconic designs, a lot of cool lore and world building, but just those characters, and the best character to me isn't even one of Asuka and Shinji. I think are the main 2 that are depicted as mentally ill, as very, very depressed and broken. But I identify so much with Misato these days.
Yes, thank you.
The adult.
Thank you. Now there's something we agree on when it comes to this show.
I mean, and she's definitely, I don't want to sell her as like she's totally together and not broken, because she's fucked up in her own way.
Anyone who says that flat out hasn't watched the show.
Yeah.
Like, they're reading Wikipedia stubs at best if they're coming to that conclusion.
But just to be clear, but it kind of seeing, how she relates to the world and how she has to manage all these, other broken people that are living with her and still be kick-ass at her job, and try to balance her life is pretty fascinating to see.
Nope, someone's phoning in to tell you that you're wrong about Ava.
I know. I forgot I had given out the voicemail number for our show, and people were trying to get it now.
Rookie mistake, man. Rookie mistake.
But no, gosh, what can I mean, I don't think I can say anything about Evangelion that hasn't been said by someone who's much smarter than me, or who knows more, or who has studied it more, seen it more times, has read more interviews. I'm not the kind of, like, I haven't, like, sought out a bunch of, Hideaki Anno interviews, even though I love Anno as a director and everything. I just, and I'm not as familiar with, like, the story behind the scenes as some people. But, I mean, just this content, like, just this show, I feel it is something you absolutely have to rewatch and give a fresh chance to. I think that there's so much there that you'll love. There's so much here that I'll love and will continue to watch, and I think this is going to be a top show for a long, long time to come for me.
Fair enough. Right then, so my number 3. We have already discussed this. It was getting up on here eventually because it is literally one of the best animes I've seen. And it's, of course, Berserk 1997.
All right.
To no one's surprise.
Yeah.
If someone asked me to name a three-way character piece that was better written than Berserk 997, I would say, I can't. Impossible. It hasn't been fucking written yet. I'll get back to you when it happens. You might be waiting a while. I went into this show having a skeletal knowledge of what happens with Casca, with Guts, with Griffith in that particular arc. And even knowing as I did, like, the broad strokes of how those events played out, I still found this one of the most compelling character interplays I've ever seen. Which strikes me as, like, something that shouldn't be possible. Like, I already know how it's going to end. I already know that Griffith is a rotten son of a bitch, and he's going to betray all of them in the most heinous way possible, short of possibly killing Guts' dog if he had one. I already know how this will end. But the journey to get to that destination was so compellingly watchable. I loved all the characters play of it. I loved how, even though, Casca gets a short shift because she is a woman in this particular era, she still stands up on her own merits. I love how Guts, like, while he is a badass and he, rightly deserves that reputation, he does have his softer side to him. He is someone who, for all the violence that has defined his life, still wants a little bit of normality here and there, a little bit of humanity. And then, of course, we have Griffith, who's the walking charisma box it is, the man who could literally just ask you for your wallet and you just, before you realize it, oh, it's gone. It's left my hands. Who would have thought that would have happened? It's also one of the most amazingly restrained productions ever, just in terms of the fact that it had a budget of probably $15. Like, you could have literally animated this on your kids', allowance. But they knew where to spend the money. They knew what to spend on. Like, okay, we're not going to be able to animate this action scene. We're not going to be able to have a bombastic action scene between Griffith and Gus. We're just going to have them stand there for what feels like 50 minutes waiting to strike. Yeah. And you know what? That was for the better of it. If we'd had a long scene in which they were fighting each other, trading blows and quips and whatever, it would have been so much lesser for it. This show is the textbook example of how you do more with less. The backgrounds are great. The climax of the show is just, it's unholy. But it's also, a real strong treatise on the will to power, power corrupting as well. Even thinking about it just makes me feel exhausted, just trying to comprehend the actions happening and also the morality behind it and the logical points that got to, the decision-making points that led to it.
Yes. That has kept me up at night.
It's going to keep me awake, that's for sure. So, I cannot think of a show that was better written in terms of its character interplay than that. Probably not, period, like, even just outside of anime. And the rest of it that surrounds this core, this, rock-solid, perfect core of character display is also really good in itself. The one flaw I would give it is that I just wish that they had concluded, with how Guts and Casca survived, rather than ending at the point they did, which is to imply that only Guts survived, which we, of course, know is not true.
Yeah.
I would have preferred that there'd been, the additional context after that. But then again, perhaps that was intentional. Perhaps that was the point in which they did want to end it on just as a moment of soberness. I can't say for certain, of course, I wasn't the one who made it. Also, additional point just for the most amazing set of outtakes ever.
Oh, thank you, Media Blasters.
Media Blasters did us right by having these.
Yes.
And I wish that there were more like them in other shows like that, where they just had the voice actors throw Goose in just for the fun of it. But yeah,
there's
nice.
There's some for Rurouni Kenshin. If you want to go watch that show now.
I will put that a pin in that for a while.
Yeah, that's a tough one to go back to these days.
But yeah, number 3, Zert 997, best characters in play ever. Come at me if you feel differently, because you're fucking wrong.
Pow, pow, pow. It's glorious. Glorious. Berserk is wonderful. All right. The time has come. The time is now to talk about
I see where this is going.
Macross Frontier. My number 2 favorite anime of all time. Because it makes me feel so wonderful. I watch anime for many reasons. Different reasons, different times of my life.
Well, I thought it was just your, ongoing punishment for some hideous or unexplained crime. Like, you could go to prison or you could watch a new anime every month, preferably one that's shit. Okay, so clearly I've been correct, son.
Yeah, no, new information has come into the case. I watch it to feel good much of the time, and there's in the entire Macross franchise, there's just a joy, an incredible joy, and I think that is, to me, it's best come across here in this show. It may be because I love those characters. I think those are 3 tremendous leads. The love triangle is pretty damn excellent. Love Cheryl Gnome. Cheryl Gnome is a treasure that you absolutely cannot take for granted. And gosh, the movies as kind of alternate history versions of the story in the TV show are fascinating and beautiful.
They are.
The soundtrack, tremendous, incredible. The idea of Macross is this franchise about how kind of media shapes culture and can reshape culture is something that I really dig. And this show, I think, has my favorite expressions of the different things that make up Macross, like the sort of traditional formula, the robot transforming planes. This show does those better than other Macrosses to me. The love triangle, because of its constituent parts, this show has the best love triangle of the Macrosses. And to me, as much as I love the original, this show has my favorite Macross soundtrack. And so, better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's, right?
No, not Papa John's, not anymore. No, we don't talk about that.
Papa Papa, unnamed Papa.
No, just let's move away from that term entirely. Because it comes to the music, though, wasn't it Yoko Kanno did some of the songs or wrote some of them for Frontier?
Possibly. I'm sure Gwen's mentioned it on our Frontier cast, and I'm
sure Gwen's listening to this right now. He's just tearing his fucking hair out.
Why don't you remember all the details? I'm sorry. But even Ronka, who is, I don't like her as much as Cheryl. Like you said, she's wonderful, and I actually like her songs in this show are just some of the most infectious Japanese pop songs of all time.
Definitely.
They're tremendous. And as you spoke to kind of the message of her arc, and I love that. I love the fact that that young ladies have done and can approach this show and see positivity and see something to model themselves after and to look up to. I mean, that's super cool for this thing that I feel like in its original incarnation and many incarnations thereafter was targeted at guys. The fact that
It was for dicks rather than chicks. Let's put it that way.
And it's just more. It just feels more inclusive. You know, to speak to that, you know, I believe that there is a couple in the show that is a gay couple. Kind of, they're not like waving pride flags or anything, but they're doing stuff in the background. Two of the schoolmates. I'm almost positive that's the case. It was one of them that Luca has a crush on, but no, she's actually, I think, in a relationship with another girl. If I remember.
Is it Bobby also pretty obviously gay as well?
Well, he's certainly flamboyant, yes.
Yeah, can flamboyant, but it again speaks to the diversity of the cast inside the, you know, SMS. You know, we've got characters who are multi-ethnic, who have very different personalities, old, young, guy, girl. You know, some are flamboyant, some are more manly. I mean, Ozma is like manly man. You know, you got Bobby, who's, you know, I'm fairly certain he is definitely gay because he lusts after Elsa once or twice.
He does.
But you know what? I just love the crew and the cast of characters. Like, can't remember the lady's name, but the one who does the artillery. Oh, like, she's a fucking bastard. Clan, like, Clan's great as well. One thing I neglected to mention is that another thing that I felt Frontier kind of dropped the ball on was also not exploring some of its character arcs to its fullest potential.
That's true.
Ozma and Brera, like, there's such a missed opportunity. I feel it's kind of baffling that they didn't explore, you know, the idea of them as brothers to Ranka, literally, and also as a found brother. And then, of course, there's, you know, the whole relationship between Clan and Mishru that is just kind of written off as comedy. But you could have done some really interesting stuff with that. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing because there's a lot already in this show that's packed in there, and maybe trying to crowbar these things in would have just, you know, suffocated some of the stuff that's already there that's good. But I'm just speaking to someone who, like, you know, thinks, wow, that'd have been amazing if they'd done that. But, well, got what we got. And what we got was fucking A anyway, so you know what? I'm fine with that. That's
true. I agree. So there's another aspect to this for me, and I'll just say really quickly, and we can move on, is this was the 25-year anniversary project, so there's a kind of a Macross nostalgia element, and you know, it hadn't been years or anything since I had seen the previous Macrosses, so I didn't have a lot of like pent up pining and nostalgia, but I was trying to watch these in order, so I had seen SDF and, you know, Plus, and I believe I had gotten through 7 when I had watched this the first time, and my goodness, the fact that there are just so many callbacks to old Macross is amazing, pretty phenomenal, and a lot of fantastic stuff there for you if you're a longtime fan. All right, hit me with your.
Careful what you say next.
I know what I was looking for.
I know. I knew that was coming. I knew it was coming. So, my numero dos. It's everyone's favorite General Robotchi, you know, sadness simulator is, of course, Madoka Magica. So, like, I have watched maybe 0 magical girl shows, unless you count Kill the Kill, which is stretching the definition perhaps a little bit, although I'd argue that it certainly fits the majority of it. So, someone says to me, go watch Madoka Magica. I'm like, all right, fine, I'll go fucking watch it if it'll shut you the fuck up. And you know what? Holy fucking Christ. It's one of the most intense things I have ever witnessed in an anime show. Probably one of the most intense thing. Like with Steins Gate, you know, you have that thing where everything's just kind of calm and simmering, and then episode 3, you know, cuts to the end.
Boy, oh boy.
And you are down the rabbit hole at that point. You have entered Wonderland, and there's no way out but to see it through. And people say it's deconstruction of magical girl like shows and such, which I can't really speak to because of the fact that I haven't watched a lot of them. But what I can speak to is just its overall amazing quality. It's meticulously crafted in its storytelling from start to finish. The foreshadowing is superb for all of its various twists and turns, particularly with Homura. You've got an antagonist in Kyubey who is visually designed to be appealing to exactly the kind of people that, you know, the girls that Madoka and her fellows are. Like, when you see him sat amongst the toys in the opening, that's who he's meant to be. He's meant to be a pliable, likable little anime creature, but he is the most vile, evil, like, well, maybe not even necessarily evil, I suppose, but certainly one of the most vile and manipulative chess masters in fiction at least I have read. Like, he is a callous and cruel and cunning individual that is wrapped up inside this little, like, little cat thing that just looks all cute and sweet. Homer's arc with her time travel stuff, sorry, spoilers, but that was incredible. I am always got a soft spot for time travel in any sort of work fiction, but this kind of time travel is the one that is about the characters and how, much like with Steins Gate, it starts sanding away their humanity as they travel over and over to accomplish a task that is just impossible. It's the Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill thing here. Mm-hmm. But it also just speaks generally to, human nature. Like, wish making as an idea in this show is taken to and examined to its literal extremes. Like, okay, I want to be with the guy I want to be with, but then the monkey's paw, closes, and you weren't doing it to help him. You were doing it to help yourself, Sayaka. Very sorry to say. You have, of course, had then. God, I forgot her name. The redhead one. I should know this.
Oh shoot! Yeah, I don't remember. I remember Madoka and Sayaka and Homura, but I don't remember the other one's name.
You can fill in for me, folks. I'm very sorry. But, with her wish, to make sure her family never starved because her dad was listened to, and then her dad found out, and it destroyed her family. Homer's wish, to save Madoka, has destroyed her as a person. Careful what you wish for. It's so well examined, but it also speaks to very human desires. Like, I want to be with this person, but the steps you take then ultimately deny you them because they're the kind of selfish ones that, reveal your true colors. Mm-hmm. But Madoka's final act is a selfless one that, again, affirms that, the idea of making wishes, the idea of, desiring things, doesn't necessarily need to be poisonous. Mm-hmm. It doesn't necessarily need to, be self-destructive. It's a pure act of love that happens both for Madoka and Homura. It's just they both had to, to kind of meet in the middle. And it ends, in a way that I just found beautiful. Like, she'll always be there, man, but she'll never, be able to interact with love. But it's a pure act of self-sacrifice that kind of touched me. It got me. And I've not even spoken yet about what the show fucking looks like. Jesus Christ. Like,
fabric.
This is like a Yoko Taro acid trip, and I loved every second of it. The visual design of the overworld, when the witches, lairs and such, the witches themselves, it just blew my fucking mind to even comprehend it. The music is amazing. Like, when you've got Califenia's Magia playing first time, in episode 3 as the ending song, with the visual of the girl's shadows walking into the distance on this uncertain dark path they've now found themselves on, chilled me to my fucking core. It's simply one of the best homeworks ever. Like, everything is on point. The writing is spot on. The music is spot on. The direction, the animation, the visual design. Not a single part of Madoka Magica is out of step. It's just unfortunately a crying shame that General Botch decided to dick over the fans with Rebellion. And when I say that, I mean that he did that deliberately because everyone wanted Madoka to come back. And he gave them what they wanted. In the most ironic twist of all, the fans wished for Madoka to return. And she did. At the cost of, the happy ending. Like, oh, we're stuck in this limbo state now where things are back to normal. But no one's happy. You're not happy. Careful what you wish for. That's why you should have watched the show in the first place and paid attention to its message. Like, that's the most amazing literary troll ever. It's incredible that Urabachi did that. Like, oh, you want back, do you? You want back? Well, okay, here you go, motherfuckers. Enjoy. Choke on this. But yeah, it's incredible. Like, speaking to like the whole merchandise thing again, it's just to give. I mean, it's materialistic to say this, but like, I did, of course, buy the Land of Lustrous mangas. Frontier, I have 2 Neon Droids, one of Rank of Lord Cheryl, and you might be able to see it in the back there, but I do indeed have a Mami Tomoe figure there. Like, materialistically speaking, like, I wouldn't buy these things if they didn't have value to me. Mm-hmm. Like, beyond just the monetary thing. Like, it reminds me of that show. I need to rewatch it soon at some point because...
Me too. It's been a long time.
But yeah,
I've only seen it once, and I haven't even seen the movies.
cliche and predictable perhaps me to say this is on my top list and as high as it is, but it's just a pure quality product in every respect.
I just put Evangelion on this list. You can't be more cliche than that.
Fair. So I think it's time now, Docs. Tell us about your numero uno.
Oh wait, let me just say about Madoka. It's fantastic. I loved it. It might be like the most. It might be like the biggest anime fan hit. Maybe since Eva. Like, I think there are a couple things contending with that. Like, there's Bakemonogatari, and then possibly something like. Well, so I don't know. I'm using internal criteria that you're not all privy to, and you might be thinking like, "Oh, Full Metal Alchemist, Death Note." Those strike me as more crossover, kind of like more popular kind of things, whereas Madoka and Bake feel much more like Eva in that they're like very otaku driven. Their popularity. So, but it's a thing. No, I loved it when I saw it, and I just haven't seen it in a while. It is fantastic. Poor Sayaka. Best girl.
You know what you said about the fan hit. Like, it was such a fan hit. It actually was to its detriment in the most amazing way possible. Like, holy shit, Jenna Robochi. Like, people say like he kills his characters and stuff, and I kind of get that. But I cannot believe the man had the stones to literally take a look at his fans' reactions to the show that he had created and honed. I go, all right, I'll give you what you want, and I will make you regret it.
It was a big own.
I mean, that was like the Schadenfreude was off the fucking charts. Holy shit!
Excuse me, pardon me. Okay,
you're gathering your energy for this now.
Yeah. All right. Number one.
Da da da.
Show that fewer people are going to be familiar with this one than most of the other things on my list, and that is Cross Game. Number one favorite anime ever, Cross Game. It's a sports show. It is ostensibly it's a baseball anime, and it's a lot about baseball, but it is also about life in just so many senses.
Do you have to grab life by the balls? Is that what this baseball show is selling? Sorry.
You gotta take some cuts, son. You gotta take a swing when you're in the batter's box of life. But no, Cross Game means the world to me. It like, how do I even talk about what I love about this show? Well, I think
talk about its batting average.
You could say 1,000. It's batting 1,000. You could. Ooh. So it's this Mitsuru Adachi adapted work. There's a manga, but it's adapted in this 50-episode show. It's a coming of age story in many senses. High school kids play baseball and grow up together and learn about each other. But the thing for me that puts it over the top is that this show there's a tragic through line through it. There's a tragic element to it in that it is about less, I was going to say grief, but I think it's just more about loss. And it's about like living your life in the shadow of lost loved ones that you'll never be able to escape, but that you have to find a way to live with and find a way to incorporate into your life, whether you like it or not. It's going to seep into who you are and make who you will become, and it's going to be part of your DNA, and that is either going to be something that you can embrace and it can be healthy, or not. It can eat away at you, it can destroy you, it can poison you. I mean, there's just a real sense of the characters quietly dealing with this, and you see the death in the first episode. not a huge spoiler, but the main character, Ko Kitamura, is his best friend in the world. They're in, I believe, third grade together, and they're on a class field trip, and she gets into an accident, and she dies. And, you know, they've been best friends. He's, you know, pretty good friends with her sister, and they're neighbors. And, you know, it's fast forward to high school, and you know, he ends up falling in love with the sister, but there are a lot of complications that lead up to that because, you know, there's so much emotion that he feels for the girl he used to love when he was, you know, 8, 9 years old, his best friend. Is it right for him to go do this? There's so much in Aoba, the girl, you know, she's very much like, no, like, you are this person that I was jealous of because my sister was always hanging out with you. I don't like you. There is so much there, but the romance angle is fantastic. But I mean, just why I come to it isn't about the romance, and it isn't about the sports. The sports is amazing though. Like it makes you care. It makes you care about baseball. The games are really great.
It has to survive the Brit test, though. Like, will it make a Brit care about baseball now? There's a question.
I mean, if Yuri on Ice made you care about ice skating, you know, then this show will make you care about the baseball. It's very compelling. And boy, I mean, just because you're rooting for everyone involved, and there's so much interpersonal drama, and there's so much emotions and so much that the characters have put into, because you see them put in the work to this. You feel like you have stakes in the game. But you know, all that's fantastic, but just, I was dealing with a tremendous loss in my own life when I watched this. You know, my first daughter, she had died, and it was extremely, the worst time in my life. I've spoken about this at length on the Angel's Egg show we did with Danny and Kay, so I won't go in too much to it here. You can find that on our SoundCloud if you want to check that out, or on our Apple podcast feed. But this show actually helped me process my grief and start to just have something to look at that showed me, like, just put one foot in front of the other. Just take your next breath. Just say your next prayer, you know, and it is not going to go away. It's not going to magically get easier, but you will continue to live. And as you incorporate this huge, giant thing into your life will change, but it won't always be sad. It will become part of who you are, and you'll never forget it, but you won't always be sad about it. There will be something, I don't even know how to say, that there's something about this grief that I still carry around in me that, you know, as I hold it kind of near to my heart, there's something beautiful about it. I don't really know how to, I don't know how to put it into words, but Cross Game was very comforting to me. And it spoke to me very deeply, and I would recommend it to anyone who likes any anime. If you like anime, and you know, you're cool, and you're not like needing the fantastical elements, if you're okay with a show about some real people growing up, it's phenomenal show. I want to watch more Mitsuru Adachi works, but this one was so emotional, like, for me, that I'm like, boy, I have to really, like, roll my sleeves. Now, I have watched a couple of his shorter works that are more comedic, Slow Step being one I remember, but man, Cross Game, amazing. My favorite anime ever. Don't know if it'll ever be topped because of it was time and place.
Fair enough. Right, top time for me. Well, I'll just come out and say it. It's Welcome to the HK.
Heyo.
Easy,
Yep.
Easy as that. Like, this is also, funnily enough, one of the shows I've watched before starting Warui Deshou. And it felt like I'd just literally read like something out of scripture or something holy that kind of revealed things to me, revealed truths to me. It's a warning to me personally, I feel like, of how close you can come to being there, but also that if you ever are down that low, that you can come out of that rut. You can, meet people who will probably give you a good, nudging of the elbow in your ribs, like saying, come on, this is all daft and all that. You'll have a silly thing happen on the way. But yeah, you know what? You can be in the pits and it will pull you out of it. I've not seen a show that can, like Landlust can kind of do this, but this does it so much better. Like, its sense of humor is incredible. It crosses the cultural barrier with ease. I've not seen a better Freudian, symbolism joke ever than the snake and the apple and the sea than it was in this particular show. It was fantastic. I really appreciate the animation as well in it. Like, some of it was a bit sloppy here and there, but it just really touched me personally to see a character like Sasso just, go for all that shit, all these individual little arcs, like the island with the death cult, the MMO stuff where he tries to become a fucking gold farmer. Like, how this show manages to do an MMO setting as a subplot better than shows that actually are set in MMOs fully, it's just a testament to the quality of its writing. It doesn't pussyfoot around the idea of, being a hikikomori. It puts it quite bluntly, you will live in a shithole. You will not take care of yourself. Like, the place will be covered in junk everywhere. It doesn't offer easy answers to getting out of that particular mindset. But it just does show, that, yeah, you might be in that place, but there are qualities to you that you need to hone, like Sasso's writing, for example. He eventually makes a visual novel that does actually do quite well. His other friends, and characters that he meets, like, he deals with remote relationships, romantic relationships built on shaky ground with his, female love interest from high school. It's honestly just still has a place in my heart. I don't think any other anime will get into just for the time and place it came in. Maybe the shows I've listed before are objectively better than objectively, quote unquote. Careful of using that word, around here. But maybe there are shows that are on many levels better than it. Maybe I need to watch it. Maybe it'll shift. But as it stands right now, like, it gave me a foundational block to becoming a better and healthier person, which I'm not there yet. I'm working on it. But it's such a fundamental foundation stone to that it can't not be where it should be on this list. That is to say, number one. But on top of that, it was just very funny. It was funny in a way that never denigrated its characters unduly. Like, when, Sarah says he's going to become a gold farmer, that is funny. That is really funny. But it doesn't also then take the mick out of his genuine issues. Panino brings up the ending. I do like the ending in some parts, but there are some bits that I'm not entirely okay with. I think that I found the resolution, particularly of his female classmates' issues, when she considers killing herself because her fiance neglects her. Well, he wasn't a fiance at the time, but rather her long-term boyfriend neglects her because he's working constantly and doesn't pay any attention to her. I thought that the show, doubling down that by them having him propose to her was a kind of tacky way of it, going about it, like, oh, you're in such a bad place, marry me, like, as opposed to talking about the problems, Probably that happened off screen, but I've never been apologetic for off-screen arguments. Also, the fact that his, nerdy friend, like, whose name I forget again, that he just suddenly meets someone and is running a farm, struck me as a bit odd. That just kind of happens. Okay. That just kind of happens.
Wow.
But you know what? Like, as far as the two leads go, like, they do admit, yeah, you know what? We've made steps. We've progressed. But we're not there yet. But we'll keep having these kind of meetings, where we meet up together as friends, talk our issues through, and try and support each other. And that is the stuff that I'm glad I have. But this is a show that points out to me, yeah, you know what? It's going to be a long, hard, and difficult road for you to become a better and healthier person. But you can do it. You can do it. So, to answer your point there, Pino, you're right. But I'm just saying that I do find it a bit unfortunate that the show didn't even attempt, to offer a counter argument of, at least they talked about it for 5 minutes. I mean, that's the entire thing that happens with Sasso. He does talk about his issues in length, whereas, I'm going to slip a ring on it and suddenly it's okay, and now I'm pregnant with his kid. Seems a bit off to me is all. But that's my interpretation. That's not to preclude that, that that's the right way to view it. So yeah, Welcome to HK, still top draw for me, still has amazing comedy and amazing hearts. Could not ask for something more.
Awesome. There's a similarity, and I feel the spirit of our number one picks. So I appreciate that. I was, genuinely didn't know if this would still be your number one going into this. So it's really cool. It's a thing that I need to watch. Like, it's everything I've ever heard about has been praised to the high heavens, and then people have just, I've gotten the idea that the characters are so pitiful that it might hurt me.
It's not an easy watch. I won't pretend it's easy to watch, but the levity in it, when it's appropriate with the gold farming shit, like, it even has an MMO junkie-esque bit in it when there's, perceived, gender of a character in game versus what they are in real life, which handles real well. Like, MMO Junkie did that, of course, to a T. But this is just a side element in this show that covers so many elements of how being hikikomori leads you into negative and destructive behavior, or just simply how, you don't have a fucking clue about the world around you. And then maybe it's time that you woke up a little bit. But it's never, mean-spirited about it to Sasori or his friends.
Good.
It's very honest. And it's very fucking funny. I mean, like I say, sword, sea, apple. Like, when that happened, I was pissing myself with laughter. It was just great.
You as the student of Freud that you are. But, wow. Well, we did it. We've done our version 1 of our top 10 list. And who knows? A while from now, we may revisit this and see what gets shuffled around. Or we may do something else, like limit ourselves to a certain decade, a certain, I don't know, genre. Who knows? Requests are open.
Or, because I'm going to be evil, top 3 worst anime. Ooh.
We have to make it more than 3. I feel like people will guess it. That's not unreasonable, but like, I think that at the same time, if you make it a top 3 only, it limits your choices even more, and you have to really think about why the shows are as bad as they are. You'd have to rewatch them.
No, absolutely not. I would rather tap dance in a fucking minefield than rewatch some of the shit I've had to fucking.
Psychic Wars, anyone?
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Warui Deshou.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you so much for
indeed, yeah,
everybody for watching. Thank you. If you didn't catch this live, and you are a sub, we so appreciate your YouTube subscription.
Indeed, thank you.
I genuinely can't believe, just started this channel a couple months ago. That 200 people care about the nonsense we do enough to subscribe. Really kind of blows me away. So
thank you.
We so appreciate it. And Shadon, thank you for sharing with me your top 10 and talking about all your favorites. It's nice to hear you talk about to wax poetic about good things.
It only happens rarely, so I do treasure the moments I get to actually do, as opposed to screaming down a microphone about some absolute bollocks. But hey, change of pace. It's refreshing.
Faux show. Well, I think that about does it. So, hey, everybody, thank you.
Doc, where can people find you on the internet if they want to talk to you after the stream is over?
I am at The Subtle Doctor on Twitter. Please talk to me about the animes or the games or the Japanese wrestlings or other assorted nerderies, whatever you feel up for. Or hey, don't limit it to nerderies. Come at me about, fashion, politics, sports. Whatever.
Your Rubik's Cube shirt there.
What?
No, it literally looks like a grid of 9 squares, like in grids. So that's why it's a Rubik's Cube.
Okay, gotcha. It kind of, sure.
You've sold your own t-shirt. Congratulations, mate. As for me, ladies and gentlemen, you can find me on Twitter at Shaden1010, and I have also casted a resurrection spell on my Curious Cat. So
hey now.
you can find me at curiousme Shane1010. So feel free to ask me anything you might want. If it's a pointed political question with mean-spirited agenda on it, I might tell you to go eat shit, but we'll see how that goes. But otherwise, talk to me about anything and everything. You know, I'll come to it with an open mind. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us for our 200-plus substravaganza, where we talk about our favorite anime. We will return at some point in the future when we hit another milestone. We do have more content coming up, of course, with Banana Fish.
Banana Fish.
This
shit is bananas. B-A-N-A-N-A-S. This shit is bananas.
I got one face palm in before the stream was over, so I've written my daily quota. But yeah, we're gonna have more banner. Make me tongue out. We've got Banana Fish coming up. We've got Yasmin Knight coming up. Land of the Lustrous coming up. A couple of other projects in the pipeline as well. Frank's 24 will be out this coming weekend, so we can finally, you know, put that piece of shit to rest. There'll also be stuff coming up later. I'm planning on doing an episode on Ruby with Unit Zero, that you might recall from the Caddo bonus episode, and also is in Land of the Lustrous as well. Probably some other stuff coming down the pipeline as well. We've got our feature-length episodes. There's plenty of content coming your way. So to those of you who've subscribed, don't worry. You've made a good decision, contrary to what, you know, that other person who's with me has said. There's plenty to look forward to here for Warui Deshou. So once again, thank you all very much for listening. And as we're often fond of saying on here, I mean, the clues in all of the artworks scrolling past about why we say it and why we're fond of it. As always, everyone, embrace each other for everyone to the ends of the universe. And a very good night.
Mwah.